Hi, Abraham. Okay, I have a number of questions that just come to mind over the months, and you mentioned about when you're feeling good, that is good, and I wanted to talk about cravings, because it seems to me that oftentimes when we crave something, it really isn't good for us, and yet to satisfy the craving feels good. So how does that work?
Well, earlier when we were talking about when you're in despair, how good anger feels.
Yes.
Well, sometimes that craving feels better than where you were too.
Okay.
And so what we want you to do is make your way all the way up the emotional scale, and then let's talk about how cravings fit in. Because when you are in tune with who you are, the impulses that come to you are always about things that are good for you, you see. You are extensions of source energy, and when you are allowing that connection between who you are, you feel fulfilled, you see. But when you're not allowing that connection, there is an emptiness that a lot of people utilize all kinds of superficial methods to try to cover the feeling of the void. Some people go buy one more thing and bring it home. Some people shoot something or drink something or eat something. And so we are not in disagreement. We do not think that it is a bad thing to soothe yourself with some craving, because if there is a soothing that is involved, there is a soothing that is involved. But it is not a very good thing if you are in that place of despair and you follow a craving, and then you're despair and following a craving. In other words, it's the action thing. In other words, we're encouraging the emotional journey. So we would encourage, follow the craving, but do your best to try to make yourself feel better while you do it. And we know there are many people out there who would say, oh, you are just in denial and you are just not admitting where you're at. But we promise you, we have never, not one time ever, seen anyone reprimanded into a better vibration. In other words, there are people that will say, that's foolish of you to follow that craving, and it's wrong of you, and you've got to get hold of yourself, and that's a weakness that you've got to overcome. And we say they are doing more damage to your emotional journey, even though they might get you to slap your hands enough that you stop eating whatever it is that they've condemned. The damage that it does to your emotional journey is really worth mentioning. We're surprised any of you can find anything to eat. Somebody has found something wrong with every bit of food that exists on your planet. It either has too much fiber or too much protein or too much fat or too much carbohydrate or too much of something or other, you see. Too many preservatives, too much coloring, too much natural sugar, too much unnatural sugar, too many chemicals. And so it's a rare one of you that sits down in a peaceful state and approaches food. We see you in terror as you are looking at menus and as food is before you. We see you in the grocery stores reading the label, all of that stuff. You have no idea even what it means or what it is in combination. And because you read some survey or you heard some person that says, watch out for that and watch out for that and watch out for that. And suddenly your food has become your enemy, you see. You've got to make peace with your food. And we don't think that following a craving is a bad way of going about it. In other words, the animals follow their cravings and they are healthy. They are a healthy body of beasts, you see. And humans often follow cravings and condemn themselves for doing it. So any advantage that they received, in other words, your body is like a chemical factory. And your chemical factory can make good of almost anything that you put in it. And when you are in love with yourself as you're putting it in, your chemical factory is working at top performance. But when you are condemning yourself as you put it in, your chemical factory is all shut down. And so it is not what you eat, it's how you feel when you eat it. Haven't you known people that are thriving on food that you know that you should not eat? Jerry and Esther have friends who are vegans and friends who are very strict vegetarians and friends who are very strict in different things that they eat, who are often horrified at what they see Jerry and Esther eat. Horrified. And yet very often you'll get an impulse for something because at a cellular level your body wants what it can provide. In other words, there might be, we're going to stretch this a little bit for you, there might be a component in a Twinkie that your cells are asking for. And if you haven't read the label and are not pushing against some of the other components in the Twinkie, your chemical factory will extract from the Twinkie what it wants. But if you are horrified at yourself for eating the Twinkie, your chemical factory cannot begin to do what it would have done otherwise. So we will not agree with you that cravings are bad, because that would be like saying, I crave feeling good, so I reach for thoughts that feel good. But I've been taught that I should not be selfish and reach for thoughts that feel good. I've been taught that I should suffer and struggle. And we say, we want you to follow the craving of joy and the craving of feeling good and the craving of food. In other words, we want you to follow those impulses, but don't get too carried away with following your dietary cravings until you're pretty regularly up here in the place of feeling pretty emotionally good. In other words, we don't encourage you to go out and abandon everything that you've been doing. Follow the action journey that you've been following and work on the emotional journey. In other words, don't change your dietary style. Do what you think you should do, because the worst thing you can do is to do something you believe is wrong. So continue doing what you believe is right while you do your best to follow your emotional journey and get feeling better and better and better. But it is our promise to you that the better you feel, the less concerned about action you will be. The less concerned about action you will need to be, because you will have enacted the universal forces, you will enacted the cellular forces, you will come into alignment, you will be a thriver under any and all conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yes, indeed. We are appreciating everything that came. Yes.